All right, I didn't prepare remarks, but thank you so much for being here. Today I'm introducing legislation that would cap the delivery fees on third-party food delivery services. Right now, these services charge up to 30% of each purchase order made online through the apps. This is a huge burden on restaurants who face a choice. They either participate in the apps to get business, but they have to pay the high fees, or they potentially lose out on business. The fact is, during the pandemic, this is how consumers are ordering food. They're going online to these apps, GrubHub, UberEats, DoorDash. And if the restaurants aren't part of the game, they lose out. But I think consumers would be shocked to learn that these commission fees, the cost of doing business with these powerful apps, is 30% for each order. That means the restaurants are not making a lot of money per order, if any at all. And right now, we know that our restaurants are struggling to survive. We will lose a lot of them this winter. This legislation is a win for the restaurants. It's a win for consumers who will know what they're actually paying and where their money's going. And it's also a win for public health. Restaurants have been deemed essential businesses because we want the public to have access to food, and delivery and takeout services are very important at a time when we have to enforce social distancing measures and at a time when restaurants have reduced capacity. Delivery and takeout is a huge part of their business. My legislation would do several things. First, it would cap delivery commissions at 15% for the purchase price. It would cap takeout commissions at 5%. It would not allow these third-party services to dock the pay or gratuities of delivery drivers in order to make up for this cap. Now, I want you to know I did have a meeting with GrubHub. I did speak with them and basically said, listen, convince me not to do this. Tell me why these caps, which have been implemented in other places, tell me why these caps are not good. And they said to me that consumers would have to pay more, delivery drivers would suffer, and restaurants would see a decline in their orders. I said, give me some data. They were not able to give me any independent study. They only gave me sample data from unnamed markets. And here's the thing, New York City has had caps in place for some time now. And the caps in New York City were extended. I believe they implemented them in May, and they were extended in August. Restaurant associations and restaurants cheered the extension of the caps. If these caps were so terrible for everyone, don't you think there would have been an outcry in these markets where this is taking place? Westchester County recently did this, New York City did it, and so I would like Monroe County to consider this and pass this legislation. The process is, we introduce the legislation. It will be in the Tuesday packet. A public hearing has to be set. If this is done in a timely fashion, the legislature could vote on this as soon as December, and it could go into effect as soon as the county executive signs it. There are restaurants here today that are really struggling to make it. They're participating in GrubHub and DoorDash and UberEats because they feel they don't have a choice in order to get business. But as part of that choice that they're making, they have to pay very high prices. These platforms are very powerful. Little independent restaurants do not have the negotiating power that the big chains do to lower these commission fees. You either pay up or you don't get to take part. So this is a win for restaurants, for consumers, and for public health. I will now have Minority Leader Yversha Roman come speak.
Good morning. My name is Yversha Roman, Minority Leader of the Democratic Caucus of the Monroe County Legislature. Just here to provide support and talk about the proposed legislation to put a cap on third-party delivery services. This is crucial to our community when you think about our pandemic. One thing that wasn't mentioned is that this is a temporary cap for now. During the pandemic, it's necessary for us to ensure that our community is aware of, one, what they're paying for, as well as we're providing support to small businesses. So this is kind of an extension of the conversation that we started when we proposed and started the Fast Forward Monroe program and grant initiative. Started having conversations with small businesses and found that something like this, 30% of revenue going to delivery services was impacting day-to-day services. It was impacting the lives of employees, and we decided, because of Rachel's innovation, to propose this cap so that we can support small businesses, support the employees in those businesses and the business owners, so that the money is going back into the community and staying here locally. I'm excited for us to kind of hear the realities of what is going on. This is something that you don't see, right? As an app user, myself, you don't notice how much of the money isn't staying within the community. But our business owners do. They see the checks when they come back from these apps. They see the cut in pay, per se, that they would have received had this not been a way of life right now. It's not necessarily an option for many. It's a public health situation. They want to eat. Maybe they want to eat out at a restaurant. We realize that there are public safety precautions that we have right now, social distancing, for example, that kind of gets in the way of having that particular quality of life. They want a meal, so they order on the app. And what we don't see is the cost that comes with it. So I'm looking forward to proposing, and we're looking forward to the proposal on Tuesday, looking forward to support this particular piece of legislation, and I think we'll hear from maybe Kelly in regards to the realities of what's going on. All right, thank you.
Kelly, be sure to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, it's bright. Hi, I'm Kelly Bush, co-owner of Marshall Street Bar and Grill and the Union Tavern. Even before the pandemic, third-party delivery companies ate into a lot of our profit already. So you can imagine how difficult it became once the pandemic hit and we were shut down. And some places only doing takeout, some places doing dine-in or curbside or patio seating. But that 30% really does cut into our profit. Profits are always in the restaurant industry are pretty slim to begin with, so once you start taking money away, there's none left, and it really becomes kind of pointless to start using these third-party apps. Now that we are looking at, well, you wouldn't know today, but we are looking at colder months ahead, people are going to be utilizing delivery a lot more, we do feel like, and curbside pickup, so this is a great time to have this come into play for restaurants in general. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Don, do you want to say a few words? No? Okay. We have Don from the north side in here if you want to talk to him after. Jeff, I know you've got stuff to say. No?
I'm okay.
Okay, well...
There's a lot to say, but...
Sure, okay.
We have the same thing to say.
Yeah, so there's just one other point that I forgot to mention is that this legislation would only be during the declared state of emergency. So the caps would only be in effect during the declared state of emergency and when restaurants have the capacity restrictions and for 90 days afterwards. So this is temporary. This is to get us through this very difficult time, and it's also during a time when we expect delivery and takeout orders to really skyrocket and for restaurants to be so reliant on these apps. And finally, there is one other point. One thing that GrubHub told me was that restaurants have a choice to do 10% for the delivery and then the remaining 20% for marketing, and they have different tiers that they offer. Well, I haven't yet to speak to a restaurant that tells me that they have the option to pay less than 30% for the GrubHub service, and I'm sure that, you know...
They do, but you have to deliver it yourself.
Okay, right. So
what's the sense? Right.
Right, yeah, so, okay, so... Right. So the way it broke down was 10% delivery, 20% marketing services. And you know, look, worst case scenario here is that these apps end up putting a charge on the consumer's bill to make up for this cap, but at least you as a consumer will know exactly what you're paying and who's getting that money. There's just no transparency right now, and I think people who are really trying to help restaurants right now and they make these orders are absolutely shocked to find out that so much is going into the pockets of these big tech corporations. Any questions?
Rachel, can I just say one thing?
Yeah. Oh, you might.
Unfortunately, in the end,
Come on, Don.
Unfortunately, in the end user, the consumer, is the one who suffers, who is going to end up paying more money. We can't absorb the kind of commissions that they charge us. There's no way possible. So they're going to pay more money in the end, because we can't charge the same price to somebody who comes in the restaurant that we can and give 30% away. It's impossible. Anybody who's in business knows that. So it's impossible for us to, and the guest, the customer, the end user is going to end up paying more money in the end. That's the unfortunate reality of it. So they don't understand that. They don't see it, but we see it every day. Every minute of every day we see it. And I thank Rachel and thank everybody for being here and coming out today, because this is a very important issue with restaurants today. I mean, we're all in business. You have to make money in business. We understand that they have to make money. All we're asking for is a reasonable, fair deal. They're our business partner. We're their partner. That's part of business, is doing business with your partners. And that's all we're asking for. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Give us your name and your business.
Don Verney, Northside Inn. Okay, thank you.
Spell your last name, please.
V-E-R-N-I. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, did GrubHub give you any indication as to what the 20% for marketing actually goes towards?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's for listing on the app. I'm assuming that marketing is, you pay that 20% for the privilege of being on their app, and for them to show diners that you exist. The argument that business will go down for places like the Northside Inn when this is capped doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because everyone will be paying the same marketing fee. So if it's 10% of your order goes for the delivery, 5% goes to marketing. If everyone's paying that 5%, I'm not sure why some places will get favorable treatment over others. There has been discussion that chain restaurants, real big, powerful chain restaurants, are able to negotiate better deals with GrubHub. I don't know if that's true. That has been a huge complaint of independent restaurants. That's something that you'll want to ask GrubHub. But GrubHub is the big player, and we know that UberEats is merging with another company. These companies are just going to get more powerful. And if restaurants want to be in the market, if they want to capture that consumer's attention, they have to make this terrible choice. Do I participate on this platform and have to pay them a huge portion of my profits, or do I not participate and hope that I get found by customers? So that's the choice, and this legislation will provide some relief, and we can reassess as time goes on as to the impacts of it.
Do you expect any pushback from GrubHub or UberEats?
Yes, of course I do. GrubHub is a very powerful multi-billion-dollar company. They have lobbyists, and there's even pending state legislation. So yes, I think that, and I spoke with their government affairs person, yes, I do expect them to push back. But I'm looking for data, and they simply weren't able to provide it. Give us the evidence that this cap is somehow going to hurt restaurants and consumers. Give us the evidence. I didn't see it. I saw anonymous samples of, but we have real-world examples, though, of where it seems to be working, and nobody has a problem with it in multiple cities around the country.
Do you have any kind of timeline of how quickly this could potentially happen?
Yes, it will be hopefully introduced as part of, we delivered it to the clerk today. It will hopefully be in the Tuesday packet of legislation that will go to legislators, and we'll discuss it. I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion about it, and It's my hope that we have to have a hearing. It's a local law, and it's my hope that that hearing is scheduled either on or before we vote on this in December. If the public hearing is scheduled after the December meeting, we would vote on it in January. But I would encourage my colleagues to recognize that this is urgent. Our restaurants need relief. They are in dire straits, and we're going to lose a lot of them this winter no matter what happens. Let's try to keep as many as we can open.
Just wondering if I could ask Kelly a question.
Sure.
So, could you kind of talk us through an example order? Like, let's say somebody on GrubHub places a $100 order for food from your restaurant. After the fees, after the cost of labor, cost of supplies, sort of, what do you end up with after all of that?
For that sale, nothing.
No.
Nothing at all.
Flat.
Yeah. Because they're taking 30%, which is usually your markup. So there's your profit right there. Then it goes into the labor that goes, and the packaging, all of that stuff, and that's all gone up throughout the pandemic. So, and sometimes hard to find. We have trouble finding gloves sometimes to go packets, paper bags, impossible. So there's nothing left.
So, with this legislation, it'd be capping at 15% for delivery, capping at 5% for usage fee. That's still 20% that these delivery services are taking. Do you think that 10% back would be enough to kind of supplement what you're
That's
losing?
5% for takeout, 15% total for
Yeah.
the delivery. So
Okay,
it's 15 for delivery order, 5% for takeout order.
gotcha. Okay.
It'll definitely make it worthwhile for some restaurants to do, and you're able to kind of once you have a contract with GrubHub, you can choose what items are on there. So it's not like you have to have your entire menu. So maybe some of the things that don't have such a big profit, you want to keep them off, or things that maybe don't travel well because they're not our employees, so we're not in control of the delivery people. So you can kind of pick and choose what your menu is going to look like on GrubHub. So there is some benefit once it's beneficial to use, and right now it's not. Hopefully, if this works, it becomes beneficial to use, and a lot of people get a lot of good use out of it.
And are your restaurants on all three apps? Or which ones do you use?
Mine are not at all on any of them right now because it's not profitable for us at all.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that. I mean, as Rachel was saying, some restaurants feel as though they don't have a choice so that they can have themselves more out there on different apps, but you're choosing not to do it. Can you talk a little bit about that decision?
It doesn't make sense for us for either restaurant right now. We can't afford that. We were shut down for over 2 months. It is something that, and we were lucky with outdoor seating was really great for us, so we were able to kind of keep things going. But now, why this is so important, why this is so important for Rachel to do this now, is because we are getting into these colder months where people are just not going to be comfortable coming inside, and the numbers are rising. Let's be honest. So now is the time to really be able to utilize some of these programs.
So if this passes, would you consider?
Mhm.
Yeah, you would. Okay.
Absolutely.
Kelly,
Yeah.
without some kind of relief, how much longer do you think you could go?
Sorry, chuckle. I mean, a lot. We did a survey through the New York State Restaurant Association, and 63% of restaurants said by January it's not looking good. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see if we get shut down again. I don't know that that'll happen, but it is certainly possible that we could all be looking at only being able to do takeout and delivery, and that's not profitable. Our rent doesn't change when that happens. Our mortgage, if we own the building, doesn't change. We still pay school tax. We still pay property tax. None of that stuff changes. So
Have you done delivery outside of third-party apps?
we haven't. It's something we talk about in the coming up with the winter. If this passes, that'll be something that'll definitely be that we'll be considering. But it is a pretty big expense with insurance, and getting staff is kind of tough right now anyway. So we'll have to see what happens. Okay.
I definitely encourage you to ask more questions. We'll end this now, but I definitely encourage you to ask more questions, especially if the North Side Inn. I think the Verney brothers are here, right?
Yeah.